My name is Maurice Cardinal. I'm the editor of Ollieblog.com. I'm also the author of Leverage Olympic Momentum. I'm standing on the seawall in Vancouver, Point Grey. In the background you can see the Pacific Ocean. And way back there in the mountains, that's the site of some of the Olympic events for 2010. Cypress Mountain is up there. You can actually see the runs from here. We're only 2 days away from Beijing. And already it's heating up to the level where people are concerned that it may end up becoming part of Vancouver's 2010 Olympics. 16 policemen had been murdered by terrorists in Kashgar, China. So, here we are. Vancouver is boasting that they can protect everyone for $175 million when just 2 years ago it cost Turin $1.4 billion and Athens over $1 billion a few years before that. So I'm not sure how we're going to do it for $175 million, especially considering the width and breadth of this country. Canada is huge. This is one of the most beautiful places in the world to live. Vancouver boasts some of the most incredible wilderness, as you can see in the background. I'm currently on a little path in a Point Grey neighborhood, and it has beautiful bushes and growth on either side. I want to talk about the Olympics and the impact that politics has on Vancouver. A lot of people here would like to believe that the political tension in Beijing won't roll over. But I was talking to Jeff MacArthur today at Southern Ontario radio station, and he asked me what the impact would be. And he asked me specifically about corporations, large corporations like Visa and Coca-Cola. How are they going to be impacted? Or will they be impacted? And I said, of course they will. They can't keep looking the other way. It's important for them to acknowledge that politics plays a huge role in the Olympics. And there's no way we can ignore, or they can ignore, that fact. And if they do, it's just going to undermine the value of endorsements for athletes and for their companies. It's so closely interwoven that you can't separate politics from the Olympics anymore. It used to be, a couple of decades ago, the Olympics were sports-centric, but as sponsors came on board, it slowly became profit-centric, and now shareholders actually control what's happening. If they don't like what they see, they sell their shares and they move on, which puts pressure on Olympic sponsors to put pressure on the IOC. Now, the IOC never had to deal with this before because it was a closed circuit. Now, thanks to the internet, we can talk to each other, and we can see when Coca-Cola or Visa looks the other way. It's a lot harder to fool the public. And as the Olympics approach Vancouver in 2010, we're going to see some of the same challenges that we have in Beijing bleed through here to Vancouver. It's difficult to separate it. And if we do look the other way, the world is going to look at us and they're going to judge us as being unethical. Is that the reputation Vancouver wants? Is that the reputation Canadians want? I don't think so. I think as we get closer, we're going to change how average people consider and look at the Olympics, and Canadians are going to lead the way. We're well known for producing incredible documentaries. But as we get closer and closer and closer to 2010, it's going to become more of an issue unless Olympic organizations like VANOC deal with this in a responsible, ethical manner. So far, they haven't done that. It's common knowledge in Vancouver that the 2010 Olympics, are having a severe economic impact on the region. But I don't think Canadians from coast to coast understand what's happening. I don't think they understand that they're going to have to pony up for some of the expenses and the costs, and the overrun costs are huge. Even though John Furlong maintains that he's on time and on budget, our Auditor General claims that we're almost $2.5 billion into it, and that was 2 years ago. That makes a big difference when taxpayers are going to have to make up the balance over the next few years. And if Canadians understand that, I think they're going to want to, call VANOC on it, and they're going to want to call the government on it and find out what happened, what went wrong. I guess the big question for many is, can we trust Olympic organizations in Vancouver to tell us the truth? Can we trust media to tell us the truth? And the answer is no. They haven't historically done that in the last 4 or 5 years, and unless we force them, through avenues like the internet, they're not going to start now. It's easy for them to talk about house prices increasing and about values going up, but along with it, they don't mention that taxes also increase, and once taxes go up, they very rarely come down. That's a challenge that everyone that lives in this region is going to have to deal with. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens historically in most Olympic regions. One of the greatest misconceptions of the Olympics is the role that local mainstream media play. There's a big difference between international media and local mainstream media. And most people don't understand that in an Olympic region, newspapers and television companies are paid vast sums of money to promote the Olympic side of the Olympic story. And I don't think people get it. I don't think they understand that they're only hearing one version, and they don't hear the downside. They only hear the upside, and newspapers run headlines on their front pages that proclaim paper millionaires, you're all paper millionaires, and they're referring to house prices skyrocketing and creating wealth that's simply on paper, wasn't there before the Olympics, and won't be there after the Olympics leave. People are just starting to understand that in Vancouver. Here we are, it's 2 days before the Olympics in Beijing, and one of the headlines in the Vancouver Sun is that house prices are falling. They're 2.1 or 2.5% below what they were a year before. Well, that's a big news compared to the rah we heard a year ago and 2 years ago and 3 years ago. People believed that house prices would only keep going up, so they invested. They actually invested in 40-year term mortgages with zero down. And now they're stuck. As house prices slip, they're going to have to make up for the cost difference, and that's going to drive some of them out of the market. Many people are going to lose their houses, but you don't really hear about newspapers talking about this aspect of the games. It's very important. We have to deal with it soon. A lot of people have no understanding that local newspapers and television companies make a fortune off of the Olympics. In fact, it started as soon as we won the bid. They started selling multi-millions of dollars of advertising to local developers who wanted to put up new condos, and to real estate agents who were hyping Olympic frenzy. The International Olympic Committee, IOC, they would like us to believe that there are only two sides socially regarding the Olympics. They maintain the you are either with us or against us notion, and that's dangerous. That's the same strategy that George W. Bush used to drag the world into war. And that's not true. There is a middle ground. You don't have to be rabidly anti-Olympic or pro-Olympic. There is a responsible common middle ground, and we don't have to be pigeonholed into thinking something that is untrue. The best way is to force media and Olympic organizations to talk about other solutions. This is 2008. We've grown up. The Olympics is much different today than it was 20 years ago. And if people can't start to realize this, we're only going to get stuck further and further into developments that make it difficult for host communities to run a profitable and an ethical Olympic event.